In this video today, we are going to finish up the lunette shaped cat panel where we're going to foil the pieces, solder, and put the edge on. And I'm going to show you a bit of the installation as well. With that, let's get started. Sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. On this channel, I hope to help others discover the beauty of stained glass, learn tips, tricks, and techniques so that you can create your own stained glass artwork. Today we are going to finish up the lunette shaped cat panel. Today I'm going to show you some foiling, the soldering that I do, and the edging that I put on this particular panel. But before we get started, if you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button below and the notification bell. And if you enjoy the content, be sure to hit that like button as well. With that, let's get into the panel. All right, so here is where we left off in the last video. This is the dry fit. And today we're going to foil, solder, and patina this piece. So let's get to it. Now with foiling your pieces, you want to make sure that you have a clean edge. Here I'm using my foiling machine and ensuring that I get a good adhesion, rolling all the way around, putting the foil on, and then I make sure I got a good overlap where I started. Then once you've cut your edge, then you want to make sure that you go around and burnish your pieces very well along the entire edge, and then come back and then flatten down your edges on both sides of the glass. This just makes sure you have good adhesion to the glass when you begin to solder. With that, let's go ahead and get some foiling done. So here I want to take a moment and slow down and show you my hand foiler. So you can start this by just starting the edge, and then you run it around in the motion of like a potato peeler. So then you could either rip the edge or you could take some scissors to it. Press down your edges all the way around, and then come back and burnish your pieces. I do get a little bit compulsive about my pieces and ensuring that I got good burnishings to them. I'll leave a link to both tools in the description below. So let's go ahead and finish up the foiling and get to soldering. All right, here's the panel all foiled. I do have a couple pieces to recut and refoil and put in place, but it's pretty much ready to go, and we're going to go ahead and start soldering. But first, I wanted to tell you about this restrip that I put in, and I ran it from the bottom all the way up to the top of the panel. This just helps reinforce the panel in the middle because I wanted to have the opportunity for them to be able to remove the panel and be able to clean behind it, and just the stress on the panel from the removal in the center. That's what the restrip helps with. Let's go ahead and move on and start tack soldering our piece together. The way I tack solder is I normally solder at the corners where multiple pieces come together. Just putting a little dab of solder in that area, and then I will flux my piece at the areas where I do want to put my solder joints at, and then come back again, just put a little dab of solder in those. This is just enough to hold the piece together. With that, let's just go ahead and move on to our soldering beads, where I put down a flat bead of solder down on the front side, and then I move on from there. Now, when soldering my pieces together, I like to flux a large area. I use a gel flux that is a no odor, no smoke flux. It's a little bit better than the liquid flux. And then there's also paste flux, which is actually a little bit harder to get off your piece when you go to clean. But I'll leave a link in the description below to all three types. I then come and just do a flat solder bead along all my areas, and that gives a good foundation for my finished solder bead when I come back to it later. Now we'll just go ahead and flat bead solder the rest of this piece, and then we'll flip it over and do a solder bead on the back side. So what I've done is I have flat soldered all the lines, and I didn't do one here purposely because I'm going to actually flip this over and put the restrip we talked about earlier in here. It does just sit a little bit above the glass, so I'd rather have it sit above the glass on the back side than the front side. I want everything flush as much as I can on the front side, so that's the reason why I kept it split all the way up. So what we'll do now is we'll flip it over and add the restrip in, and then we'll put the other end up against it and then solder it all together. Here's what restrip looks like up close. Pretty rigid side to side, but you can form it to fit in between your copper foil pieces, and then just use your fit tool to kind of fit it into place and contour to what you need. Then you can just solder it to place via tack soldering, and then you can come back and do your solder bead line right over it. Now let's move on to our final finishing solder bead on the side. Here I'm doing the sun and just making sure I got a good solid smooth line for my finishing bead. Now we're finishing up the soldering, and now I'm just doing a fill check and hitting any spots that are sharp or pretty bumpy or something, just so I can smooth it out. Now I can do the tinning of all the edges prior to moving on to the edging. Here I'm putting on the second half of the zinc edging, and then you just use your nails and hold the zinc onto the glass panel edge, and then come back and just solder at the points of where it meets up with the zinc edging. Now we'll put the last piece of the edging on the bottom, solder at all the spots that we need to, and then right at the corner. Now it's all done. Now we'll move on to patina. Here's the piece with it black patina applied, and I think it turned out really well for the first big panel. As you can see, the light shines through very, very well. So now let's go on to the install. So here's the window we're going to install it to. I took the panel in, did a dry fit, and made a measurement on where I need to put the catchers at. And this was my outdoor setup to install the cabinet catchers. And I'll now tell you a little bit about it.
So what I did is I added these cabinet catches on the top portion of the cat panel, just so that we could have hidden hangers and didn't have wires or shown attachments to the window frame area. That's basically what happens, is that these will actually hang up in the area into the frame, and they will just basically snap right down into the catches there, so it'll keep it attached to the window frame area.
Now, the install of this panel was a bit challenging. The clients didn't want any fasteners showing, and they didn't want to permanently install the panel into the window area just in case they moved and wanted to take the window panel with them. By using this method, it allowed me to come up with a solution to place windows in tight fitted areas without having fasteners shown, and I can use this in future projects as well. Well, if you enjoyed that video, be sure to hit the like button below, as it really does help the algorithm out. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. With that, I'll see you on the next video. Now stay tuned for the next video coming up on your screen. Bye for now.